The first half of May has probably been the most eventful fortnight of the war in Ukraine in 2023. Ukraine is counterattacking in the Bakhmut section. Prigozhin is threatening the Kremlin with a withdrawal from Bakhmut. Ukraine has finally got its long-range missiles, which is going to make a major difference in the upcoming counteroffensive.
So long right now.
Where do you guys want to go?
Go to Warcraft team. Where are we going? Where are we going?
The Ukrainian army is entering the summer of 2023 in a good position to make some noise on the battlefield. The unprovoked Russian invasion of Ukraine continues, and so does our coverage.
I like that.
Let's briefly describe the situation on other fronts and sections before diving deeper into Bakhmut, which remains the key battlefield of the first half of 2023. More evidence of Ukrainian presence in the Dnipro Delta has been revealed in this period. It has been reported that the Ukrainian army has liberated the Veliki Pochomkin and Kruglik Islands. Russian artillery has been actively deployed to eliminate the Ukrainian presence in the Dnipro Delta Islands in this period. On the North Luhansk front, both sides have had limited advances. On May 3rd, it was reported that the Ukrainian 81st Airmobile Brigade has gained some ground near Bilohorivka and allegedly encircled some 100 Russian soldiers from an unspecified unit. On May 7th, the 14th Mechanized Brigade made some progress south of
How does you always know this stuff? It's so crazy
on
to me.
May 14th,
how the
Russians
fuck do you know this shit, bro?
captured Mashutivka.
This guy is the fucking head of intelligence.
But the territorial changes on the North Luhansk front in this period did not alter the status quo much. A similar situation is developing in the Avdiivka section. According to Russian sources, the 71st Jaeger Brigade liberated some ground east of Toritska on May 2nd. But the 36th Marine Corps Brigade's attempt to liberate Vodiana was repelled by the DPR forces on May 11th.
I don't like to hear that.
While a day before that, Kamyanka fell to the Russian army.
Don't lose,
Both
guys.
sides have also reported
every time they say Russia is winning, I cringe, man. It
and
hurts
several
me.
other battlefield sections, but they did not lead to any significant gains by either side. According to the US National Security Council spokesman, John Kirby, Russia has suffered around 100,000 casualties since January 2022, with half of these losses from Wagner.
Jeez.
This has created a curious situation in the Bakhmut.
I always see that meme on 9gag. I'm a big 9gagger. You probably know that big list, it's a meme they always post with how much damage Russia took, and that always says 200k.
As the Russians have continued advancing inside the city, while losing ground on the flanks to the Ukrainian army. Undoubtedly, heavy losses by Wagner and regular units of the Russian army in Bakhmut throughout the past 6 months have made them vulnerable to counterattacks like this, which Prigozhin has been ringing alarm bells about for weeks. On May 3rd, Prigozhin reported about a 160-meter advance inside Bakhmut, which cost Wagner 103 fighters. In one of the videos, Prigozhin posed in front of dozens of dead Wagner fighters and used profane language against Shoigu and Gerasimov.
Jesus.
He promised to withdraw his mercenaries from Bakhmut by May 10th if the artillery shortage issue was not solved. This was followed by Prigozhin's letter to Shoigu, stating that Wagner would hand over their positions in Bakhmut to the Akhmat forces of Ramzan Kadyrov. Prigozhin eventually...
I want to see this Amzad guy on the battlefield. He wasn't really active yet, was he? That's what I understand. I would love to see this Amzad guy. I think what I hear and see, that guy is the biggest muppet around, man. That guy is such a fake motherfucker.
Still, this whole Prigozhin-Shoigu saga demonstrates the level of distrust among key figures of the Russian military.
Man. The Russians took your country, now you fight for them.
trying to undermine Prigozhin
like
by
the Czechoslovakian SS, man,
Wagner
I swear
properly.
to God.
Or Wagner is actually getting the same amount of shells as the rest of the Russian units, which several commanders, like Khodorkovsky, have claimed, and Prigozhin is doing this to strengthen the perception of the incompetence of Shoigu. Problems such as a lack of coordination between Wagner and other Russian units have caused problems for the Kremlin's aspirations to capture Bakhmut as soon as possible. First, on May 5th, the Ukrainian army liberated some ground in the vicinity of Sekhi-Ivantseti. Then on May 9th, the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade conducted a successful counter-attacking operation on the southern flank of the Bakhmut section, reportedly destroying 2 regiments of the 72nd Motor Rifle Brigade in the process.
This is where one of my viewers is active. One of my viewers always texts me. He was part of that. They are flanking Bakhmut.
2nd Motor Rifle Brigade of abandoning positions, which led to the Ukrainian breakthrough, declaring that further advancing in the Bakhmut flanks may lead to the encirclement of Wagner units inside the city. One of the Russian military bloggers claimed the leading cause of this setback was the lack of coordination between the Wagnerites and the 72nd Brigade. Apparently, the
It sounds
Wagner
also
group
sensitive
left
again.
this section to
Videos
take
like this make me want to play Steel Division. Like, I want to play Steel Division again.
advantage of an advance elsewhere.
The problem is with
but
Timmy
did not
10s, there's so much
communicate
stream
this
sniping.
to the 72nd Brigade. If true,
My friend is
this
north of
once again
Bakhmut.
demonstrates gross
best
negligence
to
in
him.
the Russian military leadership. Another explanation is that the first line of
I don't
Russian
like Varno.
troops
Varno
did
is
not
weird. I
have
don't like that.
ordinary portable anti-tank weapons to prevent the Ukrainian breakthrough spearheaded by armored groups, including 2 to 3 tanks in each assault unit. If this is true, then we observe another example of horrible logistics management by the Russian army, since it is very hard to believe that the occupation army does not have portable anti-tank weapons to supply its first-line soldiers. Further Ukrainian advance was registered on May 11th. On the northern flank of the Bakhmut section, the Ukrainian army advanced near Kremlin, pushing the Wagner units away from the TO504 and 00506 highways.
Good, good.
This is a significant development.
I'm like a dad
since the
watching a
Ukrainian
sports
army
game.
now
Come on,
has 2
guys, come
supply
on!
lines to defenders inside Bakhmut. On May 11th, the Ukrainian army also liberated the Bakhmut Industrial College and some ground between Hryhorivka and Dubovy-Vasilivka. Prigozhin said, "The flanks are falling apart. The front is crumbling.
I like how this
Everything is
Prigozhin
leading
guy is like
to a
the
global
only
tragedy for
truthful
Russia."
guy in Russia, man.
He once
guy
again
doesn't
accused
bullshit.
the units of the Russian army of abandoning the flanks, conceding the loss of 5 square kilometers just on May 12th, and added that the Ukrainians had taken tactical heights, giving them good visibility of Bakhmut.
Nice.
The spokesperson of the eastern grouping of the Ukrainian army, Cherevati, claimed that the Ukrainian army had liberated 17.3 square kilometers in just 3 days. Despite losing ground on the flanks, Wagner continued advancing inside Bakhmut in this period. So far, the most important success of the local Ukrainian counteroffensive in Bakhmut has been securing vital roads into the town.
It looks to me like, I'm not an
Still,
expert, it
this-
looks like Ukraine's pins are moving then. That's what I understand. They are like, come at Bakhmut, we're not gonna fuck with you, but they're taking the flanks of Bakhmut.
Success may be eventually negated if Wagner
If I was
manages
Ukraine,
to
I would always not do what the media is saying, right? You wake up in the morning, you open your TV, and it's like, it looks like Ukraine is gonna have an offensive soon in Bakhmut. You're like, what? No, we're not. Like, everything they say, you don't do that.
occupy the rest of Bakhmut.
Makes a lot of sense.
Unless the Ukrainians gain even
Better
more
micro than
ground
Russia?
to the north and south of the settlement, putting the forward Wagner positions into a semi-encirclement. For now, despite the open panic of the Russian segment of Telegram and
Prigozhin
Prigozhin's
should suck
statements,
my dick.
the scale of the Ukrainian attack does not indicate that this operation is the first stage of the much-expected Ukrainian counteroffensive. And indeed, the presidential aide Podolyak has called it a prelude. To conclude the topic of Bakhmut for this video, we need to talk about a sensational Pentagon leak, which claims that in late January, Prigozhin offered Ukraine to give information about the positions of the Russian army in exchange for the defenders leaving Bakhmut. Reportedly, Ukraine rejected this offer.
Yeah, you should.
Prigozhin
Don't
will
make
be
those
in a lot of trouble if there is any truth to this report. Putin will surely investigate this claim. If he finds Prigozhin guilty of what is undoubtedly high treason,
Dude,
he will
what?
have to react
Is that
with
ongoing
some
right
kind
now?
of punishment for the leader of
What was
arguably
this? In May? What? That seems crazy.
his most capable
Don't
unit.
touch your boxer shorts, man.
While Prigozhin
drink
and
your
Putin's
tea.
spokesman Peskov have already ridiculed the claim, in another one of his interviews, the Wagner boss openly mocked the grandfather. This might be considered a thinly veiled reference to Putin, often called a bunker grandpa by his critics in Russia. A day after his interview, a poll on the popularity of potential candidates for the 2024 presidential election in Russia was published. It claimed that Prigozhin is Russia's second most popular candidate, with 39%, trailing
real life, it's
Putin by
2%
just 3
IRL.
points. The conflict between Prigozhin and the Russian elite was not the only bad news for Russia in the first half of
It's
May.
fake news. He has 2%.
On May 1st, Colonel General Mizintsev was dismissed from the post of Deputy Defense Minister on Logistics, an indirect acknowledgement of supply problems in the Russian army by
no
its
shit.
command. On May 3rd, we witnessed an unspecified UAV hitting the dome of the Kremlin Senate building. Russia immediately accused Ukraine, but Kyiv has so far
They drove
rejected
into my
its
roof,
role in
guys.
this attack. The United States Secretary of State Blinken refused to condemn Kyiv for strikes on Russian territory.
Who's this
stating that
American? Why is
Ukraine
this?
maintains
This
its
guy's
right
like the
to
cop
defend
filming
itself
everything.
and liberate its territories in the manner they see fit. While former President of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, predictably called for the physical elimination of Zelensky. Some military commentators
Medvedev
believe
the
this
biggest
was a
cuckold,
false
man.
flag
He probably
attack orchestrated
off
by
to Putin
Putin to
his wife.
foster the Russian public's siege mentality and bolster his reputation as a fearless wartime leader who works under enemy fire. But many other commentators have argued that Kyiv was behind these attacks, aiming to demonstrate Ukraine's disrespect for any imaginary red lines imposed by Russia.
Suck my dick.
Evidently,
I drive a throne
Ukraine
into your
does not
roof.
fear escalation and may believe that raising stakes when Russia is at its weakest makes sense, as they probably think that Russia has no escalatory tools remaining at its disposal but nukes. We still hear Russian officials
Yo, guys,
and
does Bree have a
politicians
flight
mention
path?
nuclear
Bree
weapons
in the
now and
undead
then,
zone?
like the former chief of Roscosmos, Rogozin, suggesting using tactical nukes to prevent the Ukrainian counteroffensive.
What are these humans? Look at this fat fuck. I suggest to use tactical nukes against the counteroffensive of Ukraine.
The probability of this
These
happening
mentally
remains
ill
highly unlikely.
fucks, eh?
Hence, Ukraine may
Looks like the
continue
farmer
to
meme
plan
guy.
bolder operations. For instance, another Pentagon leak reported by the Washington
Mental
Post
illness,
claims
bro.
that in January 2023,
Dude's probably
Zelensky
drinking a
suggested
chuck of vodka every
occupying
night.
border cities of Russia to use them as a bargaining card in negotiations with Russia, along with destroying the Russian pipeline supplying Hungary with oil.
Yeah, fuck Hungary.
Zelensky
I
refuted
saw a
this
clip again
claim.
today where he was
We are not
disrespecting a
attacking
woman.
Russian territory. We
she's
have neither
anti-Russian
the
or some
time
shit.
nor the strength to do this, and we do not have extra weapons to do so. Russia
Russians
conducted
like that
several
before.
drone and
Imagine
cruise missile
look, there's a lot of memeing in the world. There's a lot of fucking weird shit in the world. I get it, okay? People stream snipe TommyKay, hunt and World Walker. I get it. People are fucked. But when you reach a point as a human where you're like, oh, I think a nuke makes sense, bro, we lost as the human race.
attacks on
That's
Ukrainian
effed
cities
up as
in
fuck.
response
Thank
to
you,
the
Varane,
Kremlin
my brother,
incident.
man. Appreciate it.
On May 4th, Kyiv and Odessa were attacked by 24 drones, 18 of which were
didn't know
shot
that.
down. Russia also
Oh, no, I know
reportedly
that. Yeah, the
launched
Russians
a
attacked,
Kinjal
but they got
hypersonic
shut
missile,
down a lot.
which Ukraine shot down for the first time since the start of the war, thanks to
Nice.
the newly supplied Patriot system.
Fuck yeah.
A few days later,
I like
the
this.
Pentagon confirmed this.
Don't be such
CNN
a
later
cuckold.
quoted an unnamed
Novo.
American official who claimed that Russia targeted the Patriot battery in Kyiv with this Kinjal missile, but the Ukrainian air defense was ready and intercepted
Nice.
the Kinjal by launching several air
Stupid
defense
ass Russia. Don't go
missiles
for
at
Kiev.
different
Go somewhere
angles.
else.
This is huge for Ukraine. Up until
like
now,
Danks is playing
Ukraine
Russia.
had nothing to shoot Kinjal missiles with, but apparently Patriots are capable of dealing with hypersonic missiles too. A big win for Ukraine and for the
Patriots seem
American
OP as
military
fuck.
industry. On May 8th,
The big
Russia
meta.
launched 16 missiles and 35 Shahed drones on Kyiv. The Ukrainian Air Defense Command has claimed that they shot down all 35 drones. On May 9th, Russia launched 25 missiles, with only 2 of them reaching their targets. On May 13th, several
What are they
Russian
doing,
drones
man? They're just
hit an
throwing
object
random
in
ass
the
rockets,
Khmelnytsky
bro.
Oblast, causing a major explosion, which Russian sources claim to be an ammunition depot.
Anyone wants to use
The
a
last
nuke as an
mass
enemy of
strike on
mankind and
Ukraine
to
in
put
this
down like a
period
creature they are.
was
I fully
conducted
agree
on
with
May
you.
16th.
If you reach a point as a human that you are pro nukes, you are the enemy of mankind. Yes, you are completely and utterly insane.
Kinjals, 9 calibers, 3 ballistic missiles, and several drones on Kyiv. There is epic footage of the Ukrainian defense shooting down Russian missiles
Oh,
and
there's
drones in darkness.
epic
But
footage?
apparently the Patriot system was damaged, but not destroyed, according to
repaired
CNN,
it, yeah.
citing an anonymous source from the American government. The 9th of May victory
I generally
parade,
wonder though,
which
I just wondering, fantasy, if Russia, imagine they use a tactical nuke, right? Imagine, oh, we're getting killed in a counteroffensive, tactical nuke. How will the world react? I really wonder, There's always a guy in chat who's like, well, nothing will happen. Bro, they're fucking using a tactical nuke. The world will motherfucking respond, my dude. Thinking they wouldn't do shit is crazy. But what exactly would happen, I wonder? A lot of phone calls will be made. I think a lot of people will be like calling their contacts, man, in Russia, like, bro, you guys fucking serious?
could have raised Russian morale by showcasing the might of the Russian army,
Sanction 10
like it
times?
was done in the previous years, was not something to write home about
Isn't
either.
NATO a nuclear alliance
The
too?
parade
What does that have to do with
lasted
anything?
only 45
When we talk
minutes
about, what are
and
you talking
included
about, man?
only one T-34
There's a
tank,
big difference between
while
having nukes and
Putin's
using
speech
nukes, my dude.
was a boring retread of old
There was a
themes.
T-34 involved? No fucking way, man.
Another painful setback for
Oh,
the
the
Russian army
parade,
took
yeah.
place on May
ADHD.
13th. On this day, at least 2 combat aircraft,
Thank you,
an
Bezos, you crazy
Su-34 and
fucker. Thank you, man.
Su-35 and 2
Thank you, dude.
Mi-8 helicopters crashed in the Bryansk Oblast. The cause of this series of incidents is not entirely clear. several Russian military bloggers speculated that the aircraft and helicopters were shot down by Ukrainian saboteurs on Russian soil or by Ukrainian air defense. But the most popular version is that the Russian air defense destroyed the Russian aircraft with friendly fire due to its inability to differentiate between enemy targets and friendlies. This version was supported by Prigozhin too. Regardless of the cause, this was a dark day for the Russian Air Force, and yet another example of negligence and incompetence of the Russian military. The Kremlin is bracing for the Ukrainian counteroffensive as we speak. According to the Russian opposition outlet Medusa, Russian propagandists have received new talking points from the Kremlin, which are not supposed to downplay the threat of the Ukrainian counteroffensive and instead emphasize the NATO support to Kyiv. Several reports from the occupied portion of the Zaporizhia Oblast indicate that Russia has ordered a complete evacuation of 18 settlements and has stopped paying officials representing the Russian occupation administration in this region. At this point, Ukraine is still preparing for its counteroffensive. The Minister of Interior,
Ihor
stated on May 2nd that 8 assault brigades are entirely ready and a few more brigades may be created. Later, Czech President Pavel stated that Ukraine
the Czech
has
president is he's such a giga Czech. Look at that guy. He's so sexy. You Czechs have a cool fucking president. He looks like the next Witcher, bro.
9 mechanized brigades with up to 72,000 people, 900 armored personnel carriers, and 315 tanks.
Nice.
Then the Ukrainian Minister of Digital Transformation, Fedorov, noted that Ukraine has trained 10,000 drone operators and plans to create 60 drone regiments. Indeed, Ukraine has been actively using drones to attack Russian trenches and target the Russian rear. The Ukrainian army is getting drones from its Western allies and donations from Ukrainian people and businessmen, which has become a significant problem for Russia. For instance, on May 4th, Ukrainian drones attacked the Ilsky oil refinery. On May 7th, Crimea was the target of Ukrainian drones. We also continue seeing many videos of Ukrainian drones chasing down Russian infantrymen and attacking military assets. On May 9th, the Secretary of the Ukrainian Security Council, Danilov, stated that plans for the counteroffensive had not been approved yet.
All these interviews, shouldn't that be secret? Hello, sir, when is the counteroffensive? Oh, we're planning right now. Fuck you, right? Like, I'm not gonna tell you shit. Can it be tomorrow? Can it be in a month?
Zelensky reiterated
this should be secret, right?
Declaring that they would have to wait to launch the counteroffensive a bit.
But I saw a thing today, oh no, it's Twitter though, where a lot of Ukrainians have posted shh, which means they go radio silence, and it means something is happening.
More, as they are still waiting for more Western support.
You never know what the fuck is
we can
really
go
happening.
forward and succeed with what we have.
That's what I liked with my Ukrainian viewer. Like, all the media, right? The whole media was like, yeah, they're preparing, they're not ready yet. But the Ukrainian guy that is my viewer, he's like, yeah, we're attacking right now, we're going deep, we're making a lot of progress. It's super interesting how we always think you know everything with the media, but in reality, it's very different.
Have now, but we would lose many men.
I wish
think
Putin
that
would
is
nuke Berlin.
unacceptable.
Good joke.
Therefore, we need to wait. We still need a bit more time.
Man, if they nuke Berlin, I gotta like drive south or some shit. If the clouds are wrong, it comes to me.
On the same day, Zelensky finally got the news he had been waiting for several months. Britain agreed to supply Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles.
Look at these missiles, man. Dude, that looks like a submarine. Thank you, Matya.
The export version of Storm Shadow, which Ukraine is presumably getting, has a range of 250 kilometers.
You know, I often look at the human race. Oh, how are we not on the moon yet? What about Mars? How did we cure cancer? But when it comes to warfare, man, fuck, mwah. Hoo, bro.
Missiles are launched from aircraft, have low radar visibility, and employ powerful warheads.
450 kilograms, man. That's like one non-sub.
Back in the summer of 2022, Ukraine turned the tide of the war thanks to HIMARS, which has just 80-kilometer range. Russia adapted to HIMARS by removing their bases, ammunition, oil depots, and other military assets deeper into the occupied territory. With long-range missiles like Storm Shadow, Russia does not have this option. We will likely see the impact of Storm Shadows very soon.
Because of Erdogan.
Ukraine has already used them on targets in and near the city of Luhansk, which has become a hub of the Russian military infrastructure in Ukraine. A few enemy bases were seemingly destroyed. This is just what the doctor ordered for Ukraine prior to its counteroffensive. Now they can target Russian military assets throughout the occupied territories and inflict significant harm on the supply of Russian troops on the front line. This will save countless Ukrainian lives. This leaves Western-made fighter jets as Ukraine's last remaining unfulfilled wish in terms of military.
I heard they're coming now. Today I heard something.
There have been some movements in connection with
USA
this,
sent
but Ukraine
F-16s
still
now.
appears far from getting
They started to train
F-16s
pilots.
or other Western
F-16s are coming.
fighters. In this period, the Swedish
Seems distant. It happened today.
defense minister refuted claims that Sweden would give JAS Gripen 39 fighters to Ukraine.
I always know why they're not giving stuff. Why not? When you are Sweden and just say, we're not giving you fighters, why? The fighters, you have them anyway. They're in your stockpile anyway. You do something great. You help the right party. You can do testing.
Stated that Ukraine has already received 28 fighters from its allies, including 14 MiG-29s from Poland.
Poland is the biggest giga
During
chat in
his
all of this, I
official
swear to
visit
God.
to France and Britain, Zelensky received
It's a game of politics.
guarantees
They
from
want
these
someone
allied
else to do it
countries
first,
to
so it's
organize
not so
training
bad
of
if they go
Ukrainian
first.
pilots on Western-made jets. He claimed that Ukraine is
leaking
creating the
tech.
fighter jet coalition, without elaborating on whether there has been any progress regarding the supply of fighter jets in recent weeks. In general, Zelensky's trip to Germany, France and Britain can be considered a huge success for Ukraine. On May 14th,
Can you imagine how weird it must be to be a fighter jet? Like, you're in West Ukraine, you're like, okay, today 8 a.m. you're gonna destroy an ammo depot, and you're a fighter jet, man. You're in a jet. Could you imagine that? It's so crazy. And you're like, and you're like in the air, and you're like, dude, is someone gonna fucking shoot me? Radar, okay, there's a Russian position. And you drive fucking home. That's so crazy.
Germany announced
Right?
a military support package
Could you
worth
imagine doing that in real
2.7
life?
billion euros, which
Marder, 20 Marder Infanteriefahrzeuge, jawohl.
includes 20 Marder infantry fighting vehicles,
30 Leopard 1A5.
30
That's
Leopard
fucking
1
good tanks, man. They're really
18 self-propelled howitzers, 4 Iris-T SLM air defense systems,
Nice.
and 200 recon UAVs. On May 15th,
Now I'm happy about my
France
country a
pledged
bit here, man.
dozens of
Come
armored
on,
vehicles
boys.
and light tanks, including AMX-10RC, while Britain promised
Hundreds of
hundreds
drones.
of long-range
Nice.
strike drones. Few more international visits and Ukraine can start attacking. Other
Few more visits, boys. I gotta do few more visits, man, and then we can send Iron Man in.
notable cases of military aid are the Danish package, worth 250 million euros, which includes transport vehicles and air defense
And a lot of martyr pelts.
vehicles. The May 3rd Pentagon military aid package, worth $300 million, which includes
How can they do that? 300 million! I can't believe they do that!
HIMARS munitions, artillery shells, 155mm howitzers,
Damn.
and Hydra 70 rockets.
Bro, I don't know. The more they send this stuff is... You know what Russia's problem is? Like I always say, the longer this war goes, the more you're fucked.
Package on May
Dude, they're getting Land-Lease into oblivion, bro.
9th, worth
I've actually been thinking about cool content. Play Ukraine in Kaiserreich, and you're only allowed to use Land-Lease equipment. You're not allowed to build your own equipment.
$1.2 billion,
That's funny.
which includes additional air defense systems and munitions, 155mm artillery shells, and air defense equipment. The Czech promised to deliver 2 batteries of Kub anti-aircraft missile systems,
anti-air missiles.
and the May 12th decision
would
of
be
the
so
Swiss
cursed.
Parliament to amend the War Material Act, which will potentially allow Switzerland to supply Ukraine with weapons. It has also been confirmed
Dude, I sometimes wish I could go into the future right now and see how this all ends. Right? No one knows. You don't know. This is so crazy, right? Where is this gonna end? Nobody knows. And one thing I learned about life is the thing you want it to be, it's never it. You're like, oh, Russia will give up, everything is peaceful again. That's not how it goes,
that
man.
all Challenger 2 tanks pledged
That's
by Britain
not
have
how
been
it's gonna
delivered to
go, bro.
Ukraine, while 31 Abrams tanks
Just hope
were
there's
promised
no
to
fucking
arrive
nukes,
in
right?
autumn. They are
I really wonder, man. What is there a video like? Wait a
already
second.
in Germany, where the Ukrainian fighters are training on them.
Nice.
Russia was hoping that Western support
I think I saw that. I have it on my phone. I saw the tanks on the highway. I was driving to Halle. I saw a shit ton of fucking Leopard tanks on the highway, man.
for Ukraine
They had no protection. There was like civilian truck drivers. They're just driving a tank. I could have fucking taken them. There was no security.
was going to dry up.
I could have
Another
gotten my own
mistake.
tank.
The Ukrainian counteroffensive seems imminent at this point. The improvement of weather conditions, the arrival of most pledged Western supplies, and much-awaited long-range missiles are some of the things Ukraine has probably been waiting for.
Planning
before
offensive like
attacking.
this is
Russia
probably
seems
ultra hard
vulnerable
on an
at this
organization
point,
level.
while Ukraine is in a
They're
good
ready for it,
position
man.
to succeed on the battlefield.
Again, I said this from day one. If you look at human history, if you're attacking someone's core territory, man, you are already disadvantaged because of morale. You are a foreign invader. Your soldiers are like, we're invading people. Are we kind of the bad guys? Whereas the people living there, this is our home. We're gonna fight for our home, man. You should never invade someone's home, man.
Now for the visually confirmed losses
you have an
on
ultra
both
big
sides,
morale debuff.
provided by the Oryx blog.
Minus 10 ore.
As of May 16th, for Russia, these are 1,965 tanks, 4,029 vehicles, 240 command posts and communication stations, 710 artillery systems and vehicles,
2,000 tanks,
202 multiple rocket launchers, 82 aircraft,
except France,
87
too. I mean, they have the big,
and
they have big rebels, right?
239 drones. For Ukraine, these are 500 tanks, 1,478 vehicles, 12 command posts and communication stations,
Good KD,
296 artillery systems and vehicles,
it's like my Japan versus China.
multiple rocket launches, 66 aircraft,
Ouch.
29 helicopters, and 114 drones.
Punched a hole in a government building in Mykolaiv, Ukraine, killing at least 35 people.
Good job, Russia,
The
man.
sea-launched
Good job.
Caliber cruise missile used in the attack also can carry a nuclear
Dude, look
warhead.
at that stuff. That's so
Many
crazy.
of the weapons Russia has used in Ukraine are nuclear capable, including the Iskander short-range ballistic missile that hit the Ukrainian town of Chapline in August, and the KH-22 cruise missile that devastated a mall in Kremlin
what the
in June.
fuck?
And the KH-22
Oh, wait, what?
missile that hit the Ukrainian
Jesus,
town of Chapline
man.
in August, and the KH-22 cruise missile that
Oh,
devastated
the
a
whole
mall in
ground is
Kremlin in
shaking.
June.
Jesus Christ.
But experts say they don't know how big the warheads are that these missiles can carry. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima delivered a blast equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT, or 15 kilotons. The weapons that might
So
be used
stupid,
in
man.
Ukraine could range from less than a kiloton to several hundred kilotons. According to the Nuke Map website, created by nuclear historian Alex Wellerstein, if the Caliber cruise missile that hit the Mykolaiv government building had carried a 1 kiloton nuclear warhead, it would have killed more than 18,000 people. Within 700 meters of the blast, nearly all but the sturdiest concrete buildings would have been destroyed. Everyone within 500 meters would suffer third-degree burns. Fatal doses of radiation would extend out 780 meters. Most people in this area would die within a month. Another 15% would die later of cancer. That's assuming the warhead detonates above ground, which does the most damage in the widest area. On the other hand, a ground-level explosion hits harder in a smaller area. The blast would destroy residential buildings up to 460 meters away, compared to 700 meters in an airburst. But within 200
Makes you really hope we don't have
everything would be
to
demolished.
experience this, right?
The ground burst leads to much more radio.
And all because of what? Imagine it happens, right? All because of what? Because of the ego of one man? Makes you wonder if the aliens are gonna come. If the aliens, you know, Putin is dropping the button, I will do it. Boom, the nuke drops and suddenly all the aliens ships are dropping. Okay, guys, it's us, the aliens. We were watching you guys, and holy shit, you fucked up beyond belief. We had to come in. We had to take care of this, guys. We're taking over. And everybody, yes, fuck, dude, imagine that will happen. I will go pro-aliens. Let's go.
Generated debris gets blown by the wind. The extent of the effects depends on winds and weather. So that's what happens with a relatively small 1 kiloton warhead. If the Caliber carried a 10 kiloton
I want him to say, though, what the
death
response
toll
will
from
probably
an air
be.
detonation would rise to more than 53,000 people. Fatal radiation doses would extend a kilometer from the blast. Collapsed buildings and third-degree burns
But he
would
lived a full life, even started a genocidal war.
reach a kilometer and a half away.
Like, imagine Vladimir Putin. Do you think he ever understands that he will go down in the history books? Like, in 500 years, they will talk about him as the biggest fucking nutwit, man.
Windows would shatter
On the same
up to
level as Hitler.
4.25 kilometers away.
Does he not know that?
Experts say the KH-22 cruise missile that hit the mall in Kremenchuk can carry a 350 kiloton warhead. Had that been the case in June, it
No
would
way.
have killed roughly 100,000 people.
Oh,
Buildings would have been destroyed up to 5 kilometers
Jesus,
from the
man,
blast.
dude. That is... Ay. Let's really hope we don't have to see that. If they do that shit, even little Tommy is gonna get drafted, bro. And then you and me, boys, we're gonna be the Eastern Front. Hey, are you TommyKay? Yeah, man. But we're ready for the offensive. Dude, that's TommyKay. Look at him. Oh, fuck, he got headshotted. What are you still doing here, mate? Jeez. Well, if you want to see more, click these videos. Have fun. Looking good, boy.